Hey, you guys, my name is Jeneea Moore, also known as the Fire's Daughter. You know, my job is to ignite, is to motivate, is to help stir up the gifts in others. Trust me, I can't even help it. That's just what I do. And I'm so excited to do this show with you today. Today is called the Cry of a Nation show. And just a back history on that, God gave me that show a little while ago, and it is where your voice can be heard. And please forgive me if I blink too much. My eyes are very, very sensitive and they are very, very watery right now. So please forgive me. Pray for me while I do this. But I want to talk to you guys about a serious topic right now. And we're going to talk to you about sex trafficking or human trafficking. I just don't want to say sex trafficking, but human trafficking, and the importance of being aware of it, the importance of paying attention to the signs, um, find out what's going on in your community and with your neighbors and everybody around you. This is a very, very bad issue that is happening to our country today, and we have to get involved. We really, really have to get involved. I have a really special guest that's going to come on with us shortly. I just love her to death. She knows she calls me at any time. I'm there for her, as well as she has been there for me tremendously. And I just admire her so much because of her willingness to put herself on the front line for others, her willingness to sacrifice her time with her family, her willingness to sacrifice even her finances, her stress, her prayers, and her tears for the not just women, not just young girls, but people that have been victimized in this arena that we have right now with this human trafficking. It is very serious. A lot of times that when, and once again, excuse me because my eyes are so bad right now, but this is definitely, definitely important for me to do and talk to you guys about today. We cannot turn a blind eye to this situation. We cannot turn a blind eye to human trafficking because people's lives are at stake. People lives are at stake. So with further ado, in my burning eyes and everything, I want to introduce my special guest here today. She is no stranger to the Saved Success Network. She is no stranger to advocating. She is a businesswoman. She's a mom. She's a wife. She's a saved, sanctified. Listen, don't let her stop praying on me, okay? She is so wonderful. I want to introduce y'all right now, Miss Dana. Dana, hey.
Hey, how are you?
I am doing great. Once again, I just want to thank you so much for taking your time out to come on here and talk to everybody about human trafficking and the importance that it is for our country to be aware, to pay attention, and to monitor the things that's going on in their community. So just go ahead and take this moment to introduce yourself to our audience, as well as let them know, how did you get into this?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you, Jeneea, for having me on today.
You're
I really appreciate it. And again, my name is Dana Michea Marquez. I'm with Victory Outreach International. My husband and I, are the coordinators for the Twilight Treasures. And in Victory Outreach, and what the Twilight Treasures does is that they go out to the streets and they minister to the women that are caught up in prostitution. They've been sexually exploited and victimized, and not limited to human trafficking. With all that being said, you might hear my husband and my family in the background. So my husband just got home. But with all that being said, though, I've been doing this probably about 20 plus years through the ministry by being part of originally going into our women's home at the age of 18, 19 years old. And I was what they call the healing room. And the healing room in the home is where the women would come in that were kicking and off of drugs or alcohol. And I was the one that was there just to like counsel them and pray over them and, just cater to them as they were going through the withdrawals and whatever needed to be done. That was my job. It was kind of like the nurse of the nurse counselor of the home, I guess you could say, the caretaker in that area. So as the women started coming in, I started hearing their stories, and mind you, I've never been on drugs. I never ran the streets. I've never done any of that. And but here I am, a girl from South Carolina over here in Texas, and never stuck a needle a day in her life in her arm. And here I am ministering to women that are 40, 50 years old that have done heroin and run the streets the majority of their lives and come from that lifestyle. And the Lord just gave me a heart for these women. He really gave me a heart for these women, and as I ministered to them and seeing what God can do in their lives, and with second chances, and knowing how God can change a person, it just really went from there. And I've been involved in going to the streets and evangelism, and um, finally in 2015, December 2014 is really when it started hit home with me with Genevieve Ramirez, whom we met. Whom I met on the streets, and of course she wanted to change her life, but by the time we got to her in March of 2015, it was a little too late. She ended up being a victim of Jeneea right here in the streets of San Antonio, about 5 minutes from my house. They ended up finding her, and it was a little bit too late by the time we got to her. And if I would have to describe anything, she would have to be the face of my passion.
Okay.
She would have to be the
I
face.
thank you for all of that. Yes, y'all better get ready because she's a talker too, just like me. So we're talking. We're gonna really, really slow down and really talk about Genevieve one moment. But wait a minute, let's go back for a moment. You said you be hitting the streets.
Yes.
Okay, are you a police officer?
Nope. Just
You're not a police officer, but you be what they call beating the streets. Like you be hitting the street. What is going? Wait a minute. You just said that you ain't never did any kind of drugs, never stuck a needle in your arm. You're married. We saw your husband walking by. I had to wave at him because I was trying to dry my eyes. Listen.
Yeah.
But you was led to be literally out in the streets with who?
With the women on the streets, the women that are caught up in prostitution, the women that are caught up on drugs, the women that society's forgotten, that society looks down on.
Oh my goodness. Listen, it takes a special type of person to literally, for one, leave the comfort of their home, to go outside in the cold, rain, sleet, snow, whatever, and actually attend to speak to involve yourself with the streets. So tell us a little bit about that experience, because it's not all I'm saying it like because I really want them to understand that you really be out there. Okay, I got a smile on my face, you know I'm animated, right? But you really be out in the streets. Like you be out on the street. Okay, so you be on the streets. Like tell us about that.
Tell us about that. Where do you begin with that? It's a passion. It's a calling, because not just anybody can do it.
No.
It's going out there and ministering to these women and loving on these women and gaining their trust and becoming an advocate and a resource for them, and doing what nobody else wants to do. Having a chance. And I thank God for my husband, because we're partners in this area. He backs me up in this area. I thank God for my pastors, Pastor Lewis and Debbie Molina, for giving me this chance. And putting a team together, because it's not just me; it's a team from our church that goes out into the streets. We minister to these women that are in the motel rooms, that are in the homeless camps. Yes, sometimes we run into the teenager that's out there. Sometimes we go where no one else wants to go. We go where people are scared to go, and it's something that very few people that they want to do or that they can do, because a lot of these women, they won't give you the time of day, because they're on their way to get the next high, or they're on the way they're working or something of that nature. And it takes a boldness to be able to go out and minister to these women that are sitting at the bus stop. And we call them Twilight Treasures. We call them Twilight Treasures, and because they are treasures.
Yes.
There are treasures hidden in secret places that no one else wants to look, and these treasures are precious. They're special to the Lord, and these are God's daughters. These are God's children, and these are women that have potential. And these are women that have a calling. And, I get a lot of these women that they tell me that, that they don't want to be in this lifestyle. And the majority of these women that end up in this lifestyle, come to find out, nearly 99% of them, and yes, I said 99% of them that are out there in the streets have been forced into prostitution at a young age, whether their family members sold them to a pimp or a drug dealer or whatever the case may be. More than likely, they've been out there on heroin. Their boyfriend got them on heroin, or their boyfriend got them on some kind of drug. And right now the main drug is meth. The majority of them are on meth right now, and they're out there. They're out there, and this is the only lifestyle they know. This is the only lifestyle they know that they keep going back to, and it's a dark world.
Wow.
It's a dark world, and because of the saving grace of Jesus, because of what the Lord has done, and because of what God has done in my family and my husband, and what I've seen in Victory Outreach throughout the world, because of that, I've seen God turn the hopeless into hope. And it's awesome. And just having that passion and knowing what God can do, and that driving force and that saving grace, because you can't just look at them as people, you got to look at them as souls. You got to look at them as souls. And just like the soul next door that lives next door to me, these are the same souls that are out there on the streets. It's more than just the flesh, it's a spirit. That's what that is. And that's what drives me. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I cannot hear you. You went mute on me. You went mute.
Me okay?
Now I can hear you, yes.
Okay. Sorry about that. I was trying to ignore these calls that's coming in. So a lot of people think even right now in 20, let's talk about 2020 because we're fresh into 2021. But as I was doing my research with that, the numbers are still ridiculous. The
Mm-hmm.
numbers are still ridiculous. So it says China, Pakistan, and India is one of the three largest countries as far as when it comes to human trafficking. But narrowing that down and just focusing on United States, the cities that's at the largest right now is California, New York,
And
Florida, and Texas, right? We say that
mm-hmm.
loud because we're literally in Texas, right? So California,
Mm-hmm.
New York, Texas, and Florida are one of the four of the largest cities that we have actually, and the large as far as with the trafficking. And for 2020, it looked like California had over 1,500 cases
Yes.
for human trafficking, and Texas alone had over 1,000. So what is going on with these numbers? Now we done had COVID, we done had been bound to the house, we had all these restrictions. It seemed like it did not have effect like it should have had on the human trafficking. Why is this still happening?
One word, internet. Internet, and then I'll give you two more words, social media. Traffickers. A parent can be in their living room watching TV, and their child is in the bedroom, and they think their child is safe, but they don't know who their child is talking to online. And that child could be a 50-year-old pedophile on the other line, disguising themselves under a fake account as a 14-year-old teenager, grooming their child to run away, grooming their child to make the parent look like the bad guy. It's called the grooming phase, and the grooming phase is more like it's where the addiction starts. I guess you could say, if you were to compare it to a drug, it's where the addiction starts. It's where the friendship starts. It's where the relationship building starts, the trust and the bond. Because a trafficker, they use a psychological method, and I forgot the name of it, but that's where the syndrome that comes in, where that's where that syndrome, that bonding process starts. So
Mm-hmm.
a trafficking is not just the physical and mental, but it's also emotional. That's why it's one of the
Mm-hmm.
hardest things for once a person figures out what's going on, they're so deep into it that they don't know how to escape.
Mm,
And a trafficker can eventually tell them, hey, why don't you come to this party? This is where they'll start offering them drugs. They'll invite them to the parties. Come get your nails done. They're building that relationship and the trust, like
mhm,
they're the better parent. Oh, your parents said this, and they start having the victim confide in them. Oh, your parents said this. Your parents did that. Oh, but if you were my friend, or if it was me, I'd do something different. The total opposite of what the parent. So they're trying to win that trust to groom them into the
mhm,
lifestyle. And before you know it, they put them in a compromising position. They might end up blackmailing the child. They might threaten the child with, "Oh, I know where you live. I know your parents. I know your brothers. I know your grandma, your tia, whatever the case may be. I'll kill them. I'll straight up kill
mhm,
them." They'll threaten them. They'll blackmail them. Oh, I got this picture. 9 times out of 10, what ends up happening is the trafficker will get a hold of the child's Instagram or social media, and they
mhm,
end
and
up
befriend them.
they befriend them. But not only that,
Mhm,
but once they end up getting that trust, they'll take over their Instagram. They'll take over that social media. And what they're doing is they're distancing
mhm,
the child from the ones that can really help them. And it's
mhm.
you got to get that process before that starts. You got to be.
Yes.
That's why it's important that parents are monitoring their children's social media. They're knowing what's going on. They're monitoring their phone. They're knowing what apps are their kids on. Is it Discord? Is it Twitch? I mean, gaming apps, Minecraft, Fortnite, all these things are potentials. Anywhere where there's a chat room is potential for a trafficker to be part of and to be grooming.
My
Anywhere, and
God.
this could be anywhere from around the world, and you never know. You don't know.
Yeah.
And
So
there,
the internet has actually made it somewhat easier for them to
yes,
traffic and to um, build this trust and
yes,
this familiarity with these different types of people. And you said a key thing. You said they begin to isolate them.
yes,
So as we're listening, you guys, please share and invite your followers. Send it to those people that have children or single parents. Even parents that have the father and two parent homes still may fall under this. We have to know the signs and know what they're doing in order to counteract it and pay attention to the warnings that's happening to the children and adults, because this is just not children as well. This is as adults too.
hmm
Um, so what does it mean to traffic it? So what does that mean? So a lot of people hear the words but don't quite know the definition.
Okay, there's two different types of trafficking. There's labor trafficking and then there's sex trafficking. Sex trafficking is more common. Labor trafficking is when you're forcing someone to work in what's the word? You're forcing them to work in a condition that is not. It's like
Hmm.
slave labor. It's slave labor.
Hmm.
That's what it is.
Hmm.
It's trafficking is modern day slavery, whether it's labor
Right.
or sex trafficking. It's modern day slavery. They're not getting paid. They're living in conditions that are not sanitary. They're
Hmm.
being forced to work long hours. They have their ID and their passport taken away from them. It could
Wow.
be. I've seen it where it's immigrants coming to another country, promised a better life, but they're forced into this way of life because supposedly they've incurred this big debt that they have to pay off, and it's a life from a
Wow.
trafficker to keep them enslaved to be able for whatever their
Game.
thing is. And then
Hmm.
there's sex trafficking. Sex trafficking is what is more we hear a lot more of. That
Hmm.
is what the main thing with sex trafficking is that it's prostitution. However, the way from what the government, and I'm paraphrasing this, the way that the federal government has this defined is 18 and is any a minor that's under 18 years old that is forced into commercial sex. That is considered traffic. They are automatically considered.
So they don't consider, so after 18, and I hope this is not what you're saying. So if they're under the age of 18 and they're forced into which is
It's
statutory.
rape. It's
right?
rape.
So
It's rape.
it's rape, right? So they consider that as sex trafficking. But once they turn 18, they consider that as prostitution.
Yes, yes. That's considered that as prostitution.
So that answers my question, and I'm stuck. So Paul, I mean, forgive me, like I'm really
No.
like so that answered my question. When you hear about those that's in sex trafficking being arrested as a prostitute,
Yes.
and they have been in that arena ever since
Yes.
they was a child, but because they're legally 18, they get arrested for prostitution.
Yes. However, there are resources, and the government has also that if they can, because there is a way to recognize them as trafficked victims. When they can't answer for themselves, when they're sold, when they have their ID taken away from them, when someone is
Mm-hmm.
answering on their behalf, it's still slavery. It's still
Yeah,
slavery, but
yeah,
it's sexual slavery.
right.
And so they're still considered, in instance where they are still considered trafficked victims. However, because they're a legal adult, that's what makes the difference. Because they're a legal adult, that's what
And
makes the
still,
difference.
I understand that, but I still don't like that because just because they turn 18, especially if they've been in there since they was some people were 9 years old, 11 years old, 14 years old, and they turn 18, and now you're saying that they're consensual. This is consensual, that they're agreeing to this.
They're
Some
treating them.
people, even after 18 years old, grown adults, be sold into this arena, this cycle of this lifestyle that people have them in, and they're saying they're in agreement to, like everyone's not in agreement to it. It's really really messed up. Like I said, you answered the question, but it's really messed up how that is uh categorized
But
for
there are
people.
resources to help them as young adults. The highest demographics for potential trafficking victims are kids that are aging out of foster care because they're looking for love. They've been
Right.
rejected. They've been
Yeah.
abandoned. They have nowhere else. I mean, there's resources now. Thank God. San Antonio just started this new program called through Sarah, where what they're doing is that they're helping homeless youth get into apartments, whether they've been
Okay.
trafficked or homeless or things like that, that have aged out of foster care or they're homeless or whatever the case may be, that they apply, and if they qualify, they help them like with 2 years of if I'm not mistaken, it's 2 years rent. They help them with the furniture department. They help them like Texas A&M San Antonio has a foster care program where they'll give them a full scholarship, especially to go to university. Texas
Hmm.
actually has a full scholarship for those that are in foster care, that it extends it up until the age of 21 where they're able to graduate from college. So there are resources out there. However, it's up to the youth if they want it or not.
It's
And that's
absolutely up to them. It's
it's up
absolutely
to
up to
them
them.
to tap into those
Yeah.
resources. Yes.
So doing my research, ways to like pay attention to how they are, how what is ways to identify, I'm sorry, ways to identify the signs of someone that has been either they are in it or they have been, or something happened. Can you give some insight
Well,
on?
one of the things is the child is consistently running away. What happens is
Mm,
that the trafficker will allow the child, in some cases, will allow the child to go back home during the weekdays to go to school, but on the weekends, all of a sudden the child disappears, ups and disappears. That's
mm,
one of the things of the grooming process, and what that's doing is that's convincing the parents that that's a bad child, and it's easy to disguise that person and label that person as a runaway when in
wow,
reality there could be somebody behind that influencing them to run away to go sell themselves
wow,
to make money for that person. So
wow.
that's one of the big things. Another thing, of course, is you see an adult with an adult that's like out of place with a younger child, and that child, it just doesn't seem look right, and that adult is consistently answering for that child and not allowing them to talk for themselves. Um, you see a thing because a lot of one of the things that a lot of runaways do is that they have, I'm probably jumping around here, is called
It's okay.
survival sex. It's called survival sex, and that's where they feel like they have to have sex in order to survive on the streets, for a place to stay, for a meal, things of that nature, and that puts the child even increased, that increases the likelihood for a child to fall into sex trafficking on top of that. That increases that right there. But another thing is the child may not have their ID. They're living with an older person who's forcing them to have sex with other people for a roof over their head. You know what I'm saying? Like, as a debt to pay.
Wow.
But I would have to say the main thing would have to be running away. And
Running away.
if that's the case, then I would definitely get the authorities involved. And a lot of times parents are not realizing, hey, my child's run away, so I'm reporting it to SAPD. Do not, I mean, yes, report it to SAPD, but one of the things you want to do is you want to report it to missing persons. Missing persons
Mm.
is what's going to file is what's going to put it into the database. They're going to give you a separate. They're going to give you a separate case number apart from SAPD. They're going to assign you a detective. They're going to send out the investigator, and then from missing persons, then you're going to want to put it to call the missing and exploited children's hotline and give them the case number from missing persons, and then they will also make you a flyer. The missing and exploited children will also
Wow.
make you a flyer, and they'll put it into their system, and then from there, it also can go from there to help you find your child. Another thing to help find a missing runaway is when you have that missing persons and you got that flyer of the child.
Hmm.
That's why it's important to always have recent pictures of your children. You want
Okay.
to any piercings, any tattoos, any unique birthmarks. Is there scars? You want to make it as detailed as possible. Do they have highlights in their hair? And put it on that flyer. And when you have that on that flyer, you wanna make a video of the mom crying. You wanna make a video of the parents crying. Hey, I love my child. I want my child to come home. And you want to flood social media. You want to flood Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, wherever there is a platform, you want to flood that. And more than likely, what's going to happen is if there's someone hiding that child, they're not going to want attention drawn to them because it is
Hmm.
a federal offense to harbor a runaway. They're going to send that child home and you will get your child back. And when that happens, I strongly encourage counseling, family
Yes.
counseling, and Medicaid will pay for family counseling. They will pay for it
Absolutely.
because it's not just the child that needs counseling, it's the entire
Yes.
family that needs counseling,
Yes.
because somewhere there was a breakdown of communication, there was a breakdown of whatever the case may be, there was a breakdown,
Hmm.
and the entire family, it needs to take that trust needs to be built back up, that
Yes.
respect needs to be built back up, the boundaries need to be built back up, but that's where the
Yes.
mediator comes in, that they can help with that. But if the child is run away, take that child with you have up to 72 hours, I think it is, to from the moment that child comes back, take them to the ER to get a SANE exam to see if they've been
Okay.
sexually exploited, to see if they've been raped, to see whatever the case may be. Have them take that SANE exam. It's going to be traumatic, but honestly, the child ran away, so you don't know what happened. They will do a drug test there to see if there's any drugs administered into the system, because there have been cases, and I've been, and that the child was manipulated and given drugs without them notice in the form of a drink.
Hmm.
You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? And they blacked out and they
Yeah.
don't know what happened. And the next thing you know, they have videos of them all over their social media of them in a compromising position that ends up
Hmm.
gets back to their friends at school, and they end up getting called names. They end up getting called being bullied, and it wasn't even
Yeah.
their fault to begin with. They were influenced. They were
Wow.
influenced into running away into this compromising position, and they were blackmailed because they refused to do they were,
Yeah.
you know.
Yes,
So,
I understand.
and a lot of
It's a
parents don't
lot.
understand this. It is. It is
It's a
a
lot,
lot.
and there's a lot of levels to that. And we have a quick question. He said, any recommendation to resources for family and counseling?
There is a lot of good resources out there. Medicaid usually allows you to pick a family counselor. They will pay for it. The child's Medicaid will pay for family counseling. You can ask your doctor, your child's pediatrician. They have awesome family counselors available. There is, I think, Starlight. There is a family counseling place off of Babcock. I forgot the name of it. There's also, you can go, Med Central Med has family counseling. University has family counseling. You can go through several, but I would really recommend talking to your child's pediatrician to see if they have anybody that they can refer out. But Medicaid will, and a lot of family members do, a lot of people do not realize that Medicaid will cover family counseling at no cost to the family.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Now let's go back to my friend. I feel like she's my friend. I did not get a chance to meet her, but she is steady impacting people's lives to this day. So talk about Genevieve.
You're gonna make me cry. Okay.
I know I'm trying not to too, so go ahead.
So I met Genevieve in December 2014. One of the things that what this is right when we started doing the purses with the hygienes and everything, and we didn't have a name for it at that time. And I was speaking to my pastor's wife, and she was like, "Just do it, just start it." And I was like, "Okay." So as we were out in the streets, Genevieve was one of the first girls that I met because I hadn't been out there in a minute. So Genevieve was one of the first girls that I was able to get acquainted with out there on the streets, and her and I built a relationship. And I would go out there and pray with her, and I talked to her about the women's home, and she had a boyfriend at the time and she was out there. So as time went on, about 2 or 3 times a month, she ended up becoming the first recipient of our purses. And we were able to build a relationship through that. So come March of 2015, we Victory Outreach, we opened up our women's home at that time under our church. And I had told Genevieve, and I had this, the week we opened up our women's home, I had this urgency. I really have to say this urgency to go find her. And I could not go to sleep without thinking about her. I could not get up in the morning without thinking about her. Like she was like, that pounding headache that don't go away. It was like that
Yeah.
urgency, like it just wouldn't go away. So this was on a Wednesday morning, and I went to this bar where she hung around at on South Presa, and I went in there, and everybody knew who I was because of her. And I went in there and it got so quiet when I went in there. You could hear literally, you remember those old Sprite commercials? You can hear a pin drop. It was
Yeah.
that quiet and everybody was day drunk in this bar. So it was that quiet. And I looked and I go, "Where's Genevieve?" And this must have been about 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. And they looked at me and they all thought, "We thought she was with you." I was like, "What?" They go, "We thought she was with you." And I go, "She isn't with me. I haven't heard from her or anything." They go, "Well, this entire weekend, she was saying that she was tired of the lifestyle. She wanted off the streets, and if we could not find her, she was with you because she was ready to change her life." Mind you, Genevieve was 46 years old. So I said, "Okay, well," I left a couple purses. I said, "I'm going to go find her. If you see her, please let her know that I am looking for her. I will pick her up. I will take her to the home. We just opened the home this week." And so I went to go look for her. I couldn't find her. I came back home, and a few hours later, I get a text from the bartender at that time. And the bartender texts me, and she goes, "Hey, Michea," she goes, "I need to let you know that the ambulance is out here, the whirlybirds, the helicopters are out here, the news is out here, the fire department, the drug dogs, everyone is out here. We're sent a couple of people down the street. They found Genevieve." I was like, "What?" I was like, now, mind you, I'm going to back up a second because at this time, when I first met Genevieve in December of 2014, is when they found the body of 15-year-old Natalie Chavez, who was raped and left and murdered and beaten underneath the West Side Bridge. Okay. So between Natalie and Genevieve's death, there was 4 other women that was murdered. out in the streets. And so the difference with Genevieve is she wasn't dead. Now, Genevieve used to always carry a knife with a blade. I remember she pulled it out one time and she showed me. She used to carry this blade around. So she was a fighter. Genevieve was a fighter, and she knew how to protect herself. So what ended up happening is that Genevieve was not dead. She was beat beyond recognition. She the guy covered her. She was found in a grassy alleyway just a block down the street from Preston Avondale, from that bus stop where she's staying around at. They put branches and grass and limbs and all kinds of stuff over her, trying to bury her alive, thinking she was dead. She was not dead. They poured an oily substance on top of her. He strangled her. He raped her. And what this guy would do is that he would get these women along, and not all these women were prostitutes. Natalie was not a prostitute. Okay. He would catch these women alone. Okay. He would get them thinking that there was a sense of security, and he would catch them off guard. And as their backs were turned towards them, he would grab them by the hair. He would strangle them to death, and he would rape them after they were dead. He raped their dead bodies. Genevieve was not dead. He raped her. He beat her beyond recognition. She had multiple stab wounds, and she had strangulation. You could see where they strangled her. I was within hours of getting to her. I was within hours of getting her to bring her into our women's home. And she was one of the 5 victims of Johnny Avalos, the Southside serial killer. He murdered 5 women. And he was sentenced to two life sentences in prison. One for 15-year-old Natalie Chavez, and I forget who the other girl was that he was sentenced for. I think it was Vanessa Lopez. One of the things that he did do, from what I found out with the prosecutor on the case, is that during his hearing, he drew a picture, and he put this picture in the envelope, and he had it delivered to the prosecutor from the Attorney General's office. The prosecutor opened the envelope, and inside this picture was a girl with long hair, and of Johnny with his arm wrapped around this girl's neck. Mm-hmm. And on this picture was Genevieve's name. So he had known Genevieve before. And that was just evidence of the fact that he murdered Genevieve. Mm-hmm. So that story kind of stuck with me. And one of the things that we have done in Genevieve's honor is name the purse ministry after her, and it's called Genevieve's Purses. And within our ministry, Victory Outreach, this purse ministry has gone international. That Victory Outreach churches around the world are using these purses to reach other women that are caught up in sexual exploitation, trafficking, and prostitution. We were able to minister and build this relationship with these women. So it's Genevieve's Purses, named in her honor.
I just so appreciate, once again, what you do. A lot of people, once again, shine or avoid these type of conversations. We need to have more of these conversations because of people like Genevieve, because of the other women that have suffered. And not only that, it has been some men or young boys that have suffered in this this horrible situation that has just been caught up with. So we talked about a lot of things, and I'm just emotional, but we have to do more about this. So if you know, and anyone's watching, if you know advocates, if you know other people, other programs that's out there that are doing outreaches like that, reach out to us, reach out to Dana, reach out to Victory Outreach, reach out to the community, and let's talk about this more. So therefore, the more and more we talk about this, the more and more we educate our parents and educate these students and these kids and these children, then the lesser that this will be occurring. Okay. So go ahead and is there anything else? Let me say this. Is there anything else that you want to say real quick? Because I want to briefly run down a list of some things, signs to pay attention to. But I could sum that up at the end. Is there anything else that you want to say to the people? Let them know where they can reach you, how they can get to you to get you those the things for the Genovese purses that you give out. Whatever that is needed. Go ahead. This is your time.
Um, I'm the admin for the San Antonio Victory VO San Antonio V dot O dot Twilight Treasure Facebook page. You can reach out. You can reach out through there. I do have a lot of Twilight Treasures that do reach me through that page and asking for help or wanting to know about church information. My name is Dana Michea Marquez on Facebook. One of the things that I do want to emphasize though is that if you do think that you do see someone that's possibly being trafficked, do not approach them. Call the trafficking hotline. Call the trafficking hotline. They have access to Homeland Security. And that's another thing, too, is that a lot of people, and I hate politics, I don't want to go into politics. However, people do not realize how much of an emphasis that Homeland Security has in helping trafficking victims being recovered and rescuing trafficked victims. They place a very heavy role in that area. So reach out to missing and exploited children. Reach out to SAPD. There's tons of resources that you can reach out, but do not approach a person that you might think that could be trafficked at that moment, because the traffickers, they don't play. These traffickers, they don't play. You don't know who they are connected to. You do not know what kind of business, because you are messing with their money. These children, these women, these men, whoever they're trafficking, that is their money. So do not just try to go in and play the hero, because you could be getting yourself hurt or killed. I want to emphasize that. Um,
Thank you for that.
one of the other things too is we are having our Texas A&M San Antonio Anti-Human Trafficking Conference. I am a student at Texas A&M. This is our second annual one. I put the registration. Thank you. I put the registration link in the comment section. It's totally virtual. It is next week. Our keynote speaker is Centoya Long Brown. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with her or not. Centoya Brown has been she was the one that was sentenced to life in prison at the age of 16 years old for murdering her John. She
Mm-hmm.
ended up getting out on clemency in 2019 with the advocacy of the Kardashians. So she is a
Mm-hmm.
Christian now. She is saved, and she shares her
Mm-hmm.
story. So she will be sharing her story. We will have Homeland Security, Roy Moss. For her, we're having a representative from the governor's office of the Child Sex Trafficking Division from the Texas Governor's Office will be on the panel. The Rape Crisis Center, we're having two trafficking survivor stories. On top of that, a self-defense. There will be a self-defense breakout session as well. So, and many, many more, many, many more. And Roy Moss, for those that are watching, I love Roy Moss. They are a drop-in shelter for runaway youth, and they also have trafficking safe places as well. So they are a great resource for the city of San Antonio. The Texas Youth Center is another one, brand new, that just opened with Aaron Berry. They are another resource as well. So there are a lot of resources out there. One of the things that that Texas has is called the Trafficking Triangle. Believe it or not.
Okay.
So it's Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio, and this is
Okay.
where it's known as the trafficking triangle, where where trafficking victims are bought, sold, transported, whatever the case may be. And what makes San Antonio so unique is because we got the 10 and the 35 that runs east and west across
Mm-hmm.
the nation. So it makes
Mm-hmm.
it easy. So it's not just because we're close to the border, but it's because we have the 35 corridor and we got the 10 corridor. So that's what makes us unique as well. So that's just another little trivia answer right there that makes us unique in that area. So that, and one of the things that's also is we have Child Safe, and for the first time, Child Safe is going to be releasing statistics for Bexar County as far as where we are at in human trafficking at this conference. So if you are interested in wanting to participate, there will be question and answer. There will be breakout sessions. There will be a vendor fair. Please register at the link below. You have to be registered in order to be able to join in, and then there will be an email sent out in regards to Zoom links to this webinar. And it's going to be next Saturday from 8 to 4 p.m.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you once again for coming on. We're gonna have to kind of do this quarterly, and I just found out that January is the anti-human trafficking month. But I thank God because the Holy Spirit just told me to do this, and I'm just
Yes.
obedient. Amen. So,
Thank you.
so I just slid right on in that. But
Yeah.
go ahead.
This is a Dream Week event as well. We have this as a Dream Week. Yes, this is a
Awesome,
Dream Week
awesome.
event as well.
So we're gonna do some more things about this maybe in a month or so or two. We're gonna talk about it again. We're gonna go deeper into this because we want to bring attention to this, especially here in San Antonio, because you marked it where we're in the neutral zone. We got, accesses to things, and we want people to pay attention. So thank you so much for coming on. I love you so much. You guys, y'all see the link, join it, gain some more information, learn some more people that's in this community that's fighting, continue to fight the good fight of faith because I know you're making a difference out there. The mere fact that you're out there, you're making a big difference. And you're out there for those that can't be out there and those that want to and is afraid. So continue to do what you do. And if you need anything, let us know that we can speak about it, we can advocate, all these platforms to get you some
Yeah.
resources out there, and all the other people that's doing it for the Victory Outreach. So we shout out to your whole church for the advocacy that they're doing for the community and me so much. So thank you so much, and you have a wonderful day.
Thank you for having me. God bless you.
God bless you. So once again, I just thank you guys so much for joining us. This is the Cry of a Nation where your voice can be heard on this platform. This is what I do. I just lay it out to you, red carpet, so you be able to voice your opinions, your cries about the community. There's going to be a lot of things that I'm going to be talking about. There's going to be a tough subject, but it's okay. It's needed. Now, just to go over, and I'm going to let you guys go. What are signs? Living with an employer, poor living conditions, living with multiple people, and able to speak to other people. You're not able to talk alone. Is some things. Scripted, rehearsed answers that people are doing. Physical abuse, as far as being submissive, being fearful. All these things plays a factor when it comes to the victims. Okay, physical signs of alcohol, drug abuse, being malnutrition, fatigue, poor hygiene. These are all signs. Okay, being controlled or being watched, treated like you're a possession. All these things are signs and they're warnings to pay attention. But like she said, don't be Superman, Superwoman. Call, make some numbers. You see the National Human Trafficking Hotline has been on the bottom of the screen the whole time. Write that number down. You can text help to 223-733 so you can get those resources out there. If you do not know what to do, listen, contact those individuals that know what to do, because the faster we respond accordingly, the faster the children can get home safely. And then reach out to those resources that's helping those individuals that has reached over the age of 18 years old, that needs a safe place to go, and that needs your help. So I love you guys. I appreciate you once again. This is the Cry of a Nation, where your voice can be heard on this platform and Save Door Success Network and wherever you find the Fire Starter. I love you guys. God bless. Share, invite your followers to this podcast, and speak to you soon. Bye-bye.